Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on today's episode, we will discuss an alliance with the Imperial House, also known as House Helmawr. House Helmawr is the Imperial House that has the official sanctions by the Empire to command and rule over the planet of Necromunda, and you can actually make an alliance with this Imperial House now that the latest expansion to the Aranthian succession, the Vault of Temenos, have now dropped and are now available for gangs out there. So if you're a player out there who's looking for a very strong Noble House alliance and you're thinking about allying yourself with House Helmawr, this video is for you. In this video, we'll talk about their negative and positive impact they have on campaign play. We'll take a look at their strategic as well as tactical assets. We'll take a look at the delegation you get from this alliance and then give you our overall conclusion about this alliance system. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Imperial House of House Helmawr. So just like when it comes to any alliance of any sort, whether it be a criminal alliance, a noble house alliance, or a merchant guild alliance, there are positive and negative impacts of making those alliances throughout without the game system. So we're going to start with a positive impact on campaign play by taking an alliance with House Helmawr. Now, the nice thing about House Helmawr is that you do have that band apart delegation special rule, which means that the delegation they send to actually help you out in your gangs, for example, are separate from the gang. So if that delegation does take losses, it doesn't impact your cool stats or your stats for bala tests, so that part is kind of nice. At the same time, you also have that special rule here to help, which also comes with delegations, which means they don't take up your clue slots either when you actually got to get your fighters in the game as well, so that part is kind of nice. At the same time, you have a special rule from this alliance called Imperial Appointment, which means you can double the amount a territory actually produces for you for your boons. So what you do is you pick out a piece of territory that you want to hit twice, and you get the boons from it twice, which is absolutely fantastic to have. Could really help you out, especially if you're a game that's struggling with making money in a campaign. Now, for every positive effect out there, there are some negative impact on campaign play as well. So first of all, not Lord Helmawr, but House Helmawr has no interest whatsoever in actually allying themselves to any outlaw gangs, so only law-abiding allies only can you make that alliance with these guys. So if you're an outlaw gang, you're not going to be able to do so, so that part is kind of rough. So if law misrule, for example, or if outlaw status for your gang is a big issue, you're not going to be able to make an alliance with House Helmawr. At the same time, if you're a Paladin Enforcer gang, for obvious reasons, you do start off with a strong alliance with House Helmawr. After all, Enforcers are the ones who are actually exerting Helmawr's rule over the entirety of Necromunda, so that also makes sense as well. At the same time, at the end of every single battle you take place, you do have to pay an Imperial tax of D3 times 10 credits, and if you don't have enough credits from the game itself to actually pay for it, they take it out of your stash as well as your stash, as well as any credits you might have there as well, until you actually make up that Imperial tax. So that part is kind of a negative. You could, of course, refuse to pay the Imperial tax, but that will test the alliance. But all things considered, though, very minimal negative impact, all things said. So now that we're done talking about the positive and negative impacts of campaign play, let's talk about the alliance's strategic as well as tactical impact as well in terms of their assets. Now, if you're wondering what strategic assets and tactical assets are, strategic assets in this situation refers to anything that the game mechanics that impact the actual overall play over the course of a campaign. So this is taking place in the post and pregame, the pros and pregame portions of the campaign or over the campaign overall, while tactical assets affect things that are currently taking place on the tabletop. So for strategic impact, this actually has a pretty good balance between strategic as well as tactical assets as well as support. The Imperial Appointment special rule, where you can collect the tithe and take a boon from a territory twice, is really going to be helpful for you, well, especially if you're a gang that's struggling with money. So for example, if you're an Enforcer gang, for example, Enforcer gangs have always struggled with making money in a campaign. Now granted, they start off with a lot of things that help them out, like a lot of equipment ahead of time. At the same time, they also have to worry about recruiting new recruits when they lose somebody, so they do have some positives when it comes to that, with the lack of making money, because you can easily replace your guys. But at the same time, though, you know, players who play Enforcer games just like anybody else. They want to draw more credits so they can hire new things and get new brutes and stuff. So having that Imperial Appointment Tithe is going to be really helpful for you to help generate that credit revenue that might be draining away from you. At the same time, considering the drawback on this, which is just D3 times 10 credits, max on 30 credits every game, that's actually very minimal compared to some of the other Alliance drawbacks that are out there. It's kind of tame, to be quite fair. So it's kind of nice that way how it affects you strategically. At the same time, you do have to make sure that you do everything legal, so that part is kind of important to keep in mind. As a law-abiding gang, you have to make sure you do law-abiding things. You can't buy black market items, that sort of thing. So, you know, it is kind of uncomfortable, but not too much. And so because of that, it is a really good part for your strategic assets for your gang. Now let's go ahead and talk about what kind of tactical impact they have, which is going to take place directly on the tabletop. Now, like I said before, this alliance is a good balance between strategic as well as tactical support. That's kind of nice. And in this situation, you get a delegation known as the Enforcer Bodyguard delegation. Now, the Enforcer Bodyguard delegation are a very powerful tactical asset. The way these guys are equipped, the weapons they have, the special rules are associated with them, it's going to make them very, very important for your gang, and very, very tough delegation that's going to help you out as well. And especially if you have a high value target in your gang, so whether you have a dramatic personae or a really important fire that you want to protect, you could have these tactical assets in the form of the Enforcer Bodyguard to protect those characters from being killed. So that's another really cool thing about them. In fact, we're going to talk about the delegation that you get from this gang in the next slide, and we're going to take a deeper dive on that one. Alright, so let's talk about the Enforcer Bodyguard. So first of all, your Enforcer Bodyguard consists of 2 Paladite Companions, is what they're known as. Let's talk about their stats real quick. They're movement 5, they have a weapon skill 4+, a ballistic skill 3+, 3 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership, 6 cool, 6 willpower, as well as 7 intelligence. Now, like I said before, they do come with some special rules, making them peerless bodyguards is one of the special rules that they actually have with that. So if a fighter with the Paladite Companions are assigned to his hit by a ranged attack, the controller player may choose to transfer the hit and all of its effects onto a Paladite Companion within 2 inches. So this is a good way to protect your high-value fighters within your gang. Things like your leader, for example, or anything else that you might think is important to protect. These guys can do so, which is really cool as well. And like I said before, you have that Helmawr's protectors, a band apart, adhere to help special rules already attached to them that we discussed earlier. So that's really nice as well. When it comes to their skills as well as their equipment, let's talk about their skills first. Paladite champions have the Overwatch skill, which means they can interrupt enemy activations. And considering how powerful their weapons are, which we're going to talk about here in a second, very, very cool ability. Just interrupt your enemy's activations, stop them dead in their tracks. At the same time, they also have the Fearsome skill, which means your opponents will need to test a willpower test before they can even charge these guys in close combat. Just adding that additional barrier protection from those high value targets within your own gang to protect those guys, and also makes these guys very survivable in close combat as well as in shooting. Because when it comes to their equipment, the Paladite Companion is armed with a stub gun, so nothing to write home about. But the main killer of this is the Disintegration Gun. We're going to talk about that in a second. They're also equipped with flare flak armor as well as armored undersuits and manacles, so that part's kind of nice as well. But the real kicker for these guys are their disintegration guns. Like I said before, their weapons are really, really powerful. And when we talk about the disintegration gun, here's a rundown of what they have. It has an 8-inch short range, which is kind of nice, as well as a 24-inch long range. So kind of like a typical just basic weapon. However, though, you do suffer -1 to your accuracy penalty for long range shots, so that part is kind of sad. But with Ballistic Skill 3 up, it's going to make you a 4-up, so you still have a 50-50 chance hitting your target. Now, here's why the disintegration guns are so terrifying. They are Strength 5, -3 AP. So unless, you know, in most cases, your enemy is not going to get an armor save of any sort, and you're going to be wounding on your opponent at most times at 3+. It also has 2 damage as well, which makes it super deadly. So that's what's really tough. It's got a 6-up ammo roll, so that part is kind of rough. But when it comes to its traits, though, it has Rapid Fire 1. So this thing could potentially pump out 3 Strength 5 -3 2 damage shots, which makes it really dangerous. It's also got the Scare special rule attached to it. It's also got the Stable and special rule attached to it, so that's kind of risky. But you also have the Sever special rule attached to this as well. So if you do manage to hit your enemy, they automatically go out of action if you wound them. So very deadly, especially if you're rapid firing this thing into a group of 3 guys, for example. You could really tear it up. And plus, you could use this to interrupt enemy activations. Makes them super powerful to get. In fact, I would make this alliance just to make sure you have these Enforcer Bodyguards at your hand. Now, luckily for us so far, the Disintegration Gun is not available for purchase, it looks like. So, it could be really scary because it looks like a lot of guys would buy that if they get their options to do so. My suggestion to you is pair these 2 fighters with your most important fighter and keep that fire protected at all costs. So in conclusion, an Noble House alliance with House Helmawr is an extremely useful alliance in my opinion. Especially if you're an Enforcer gang. If you're an Enforcer gang, this will really help you out with this alliance, help you generate a lot of money. Before, I would recommend using House Ulanti in order to do so. But you do this and get yourself like a Rich Hauler, for example, Cargo 8 Rich Hauler. You can definitely help make up some money for your gang as well. So that part is kind of nice. So you really could benefit from this alliance. Now, of course, if you decide to take this alliance, just remember you have to keep things legal. So long as you're a law-abiding legal gang, you'll be perfectly fine. So keep that in mind. At the same time, if you are not taking this alliance and your opponent does, watch out for those disintegration guns because that thing is extremely terrifying. So keep a lookout for that one. But there you guys have it. This is our overall view of the House Helmawr alliance with the Imperial House. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all this greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.